Okay, we are going to look at Lab 9 here today. I'm going to go ahead and do the data collection for you guys so that you can at least look at some of these numbers and be able to do the lab remotely. So if you look at your pre-lab discussion here, it talks about matter not being created or destroyed, which is our law of conservation of mass that we've talked a lot about already this year. The main thing here that you need to understand is that we do rearrange what we have. So just because the mass doesn't change doesn't mean we don't end up with something new. So we do end up with new products. It's just the atoms break the bonds and make new bonds and make new products. So same number of atoms there of each type, but they do rearrange and make something new. So we're going to show that. There's two reactions here that you can see, and these are the two reactions that we're going to perform in this lab. Okay, so what I've already done is I've already measured everything out. So if you go to your procedure here, and in my graduated cylinder, I already measured out the 10 milliliters of the sodium carbonate. So I'm going to put that into the flask like it tells you to. And so that's in there with the stopper on top. And then 3 milliliters of calcium chloride. I've already measured that out here, so I'm going to put that into my test tube. That is labeled. And then I've already measured out the step 3, which is the sulfuric acid. And we're going to put that in our other test tube. Okay, so we have our 3 substances in 3 different containers here. And we're going to move on to step 4 then. It tells us to put the flask and the test tubes onto the balance and get the masses. So instead of laying the test tubes down, I just have them standing up in a beaker. So I'm just putting those all on to the balance. And you can see here that the balance hopefully is going to balance out here. We've got a mass of 298 grams, 0.45. Okay. So 298.45 is our total mass. Okay, so we're going to take that back off of our balance, and then we're going to move to step number 5. So we're going to pour the calcium chloride solution into the flask. Okay, so my calcium chloride is in this test tube. I labeled it so I would remember, and I'm going to pour it in here so that you guys can hopefully see what's going on. So we've got these 2 clear liquids. We're going to combine them, swirl them around, and hopefully you can see here that that's getting really thick and kind of gooey. Okay, so we definitely have had a change there. A reaction has happened. We formed a new product, and it looks very different, kind of chunky, kind of like the stuff that's in a diaper if a diaper gets wet. That's what it looks like right now. So I'm going to restopper everything. We're going to put everything back on and take our mass again. Okay. So if you look to the next page of your lab here, you should be writing down what just happened, and you should be writing down your masses right here in your data table. Okay, so make sure you're writing those observations down of what I just described. And now we're going to take the mass again. Okay, and the mass this time is 298.45. So exactly the same mass is what we had before, and that should not be surprising because the name of this lab is the conservation of mass, so we should be seeing really the same mass before and after. Okay, so we have in the first step. Now we are going to take our other test tube. We are now on step 7. We're going to take our other test tube and we're going to pour that into our flask. It says here in big bold letters, all caps, leave the stopper off. So if you guys don't know what to expect here, we should be seeing some bubbles, because the reason we wouldn't want to leave the cork on is if enough gas builds up, this cork then will blow off. I have actually had students not read the directions, and that has happened before. So it's more for safety purposes that we don't leave that on. And we'll talk about that in a minute. So here is our kind of chunky substance. Again, clear liquid here, and we're going to put those together. I don't know if you can see that or not, but it is bubbling quite a bit there. Okay, so we know if it bubbles like that, it is definitely forming a gas. I'm going to swirl it like it tells us to, and again, you can still see it's making quite a bit of gas there. So if that cork would have been left on, there's a good chance that that would have popped off of the flask. Okay, and obviously, even with safety glasses on, that's a little bit dangerous to happen. Okay, so we've done that now. The problem is we didn't have a stopper on here, so hopefully you guys can figure out what happened to that gas. Right, it escaped. And so now when we do our second mass, we're probably going to have a little bit difference in our mass. I guess it's our third mass. We'll have a little bit difference here. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and do that. That is step 8. Okay, if we look, it's going down quite a bit actually. 291.78 this time. Oh, 0.7. Yeah, 0.78. Okay, so that should make sense that our mass is fairly close, but when we left that stopper off, we had a huge amount of gas that escaped into the air. Remember that gas has mass, and so that's where that missing mass is going to be, as it escaped with that gas. So you guys are going to take the last couple pages. You should be able to answer all the questions here. You're going to work through those questions and answer those. There is one part here, account for the differences. You should be able to do that. How could we have improved this lab? Okay, so that's something that you guys can definitely talk about. And then the very last question, burning a log. So you should be able to answer all those questions and be able to complete this lab then.